The Golden Boy's Sinister Shadow. To the world, Philip Markoff was a masterpiece of human potential. Standing 6 feet 3 inches tall, with a clean-cut, athletic build and a calm, intellectual demeanor, he was the personification of the American dream. By the spring of 2009, Philip was a star student at the Boston University School of Medicine. His professors saw a future surgeon with steady hands and a brilliant mind. His friends saw a man who had won at life. He was engaged to the beautiful and devoted McAllister, a woman who viewed him as her soulmate and her hero. Their life in Quincy, Massachusetts, was a whirlwind of romantic dinners, medical textbooks, and the high-stakes pressure of planning a grand wedding scheduled for August 2009. But while Megan was busy choosing flower arrangements and bridal veils, Philip was meticulously curating a different kind of life. Behind the glow of his laptop screen, he transformed from a medical student into a predator. He became a ghost on the digital streets of Craigslist, hunting for victims in the erotic services section. To Philip, these women weren't people, they were targets of convenience, women he believed would never report a crime because of the nature of their work. The suspense of his double life was a ticking time bomb. Philip would attend high-pressure medical lectures in the morning, discussing the sanctity of human life, and by evening, he would be checking into luxury hotels with a crime kit hidden in his bag. This kit was a chilling reflection of his precision, a semi-automatic handgun, heavy-duty duct tape, and industrial zip ties. He would pose as a polite, wealthy client to get past hotel security. Once the door clicked shut, the handsome doctor-to-be would vanish, and a cold-blooded thief would emerge. He thrived on the adrenaline of the struggle, the power of the gun, and the secret knowledge that he was living 2 lives that could never meet. Every time he kissed Megan goodnight after a late-night study session, the shadow of his crimes grew longer. The Marriott bloodbath and the high-stakes manhunt. The tension reached its breaking point on the night of April 14, 2009. Philip had arranged a meeting at the prestigious Marriott Copley Place with Julissa Brisman, a 25-year-old aspiring model who had traveled from New York. Julissa was a fighter, vibrant, ambitious, and strong. When Philip entered the room and attempted to bind her with zip ties, the perfect crime he had practiced in his head suddenly turned into a chaotic nightmare. Julissa didn't submit. She screamed, she clawed, and she fought for her life with a ferocity that caught Philip off guard. In a moment of pure, lethal panic, the future healer pressed his weapon against Julissa and fired 3 times. The shots echoed through the hotel corridor as Julissa collapsed. Philip fled the scene, his heart racing, yet he managed to walk through the lobby with an eerie, calm mask. This was the moment the suspense moved from the shadows into the national spotlight. The Boston police and the FBI launched a massive manhunt, but they weren't looking for a common thug, they were looking for a ghost. The digital dragnet began to close in. Philip, despite his intelligence, had left a trail of breadcrumbs. Every email he sent was linked to his home IP address. Detectives watched hours of CCTV footage, spotting a tall, blonde man who looked more like a frat boy than a killer. On April 20th, the suspense reached its climax. Police followed Philip and Megan as they drove toward a casino in Rhode Island. When the sirens wailed and the cars were surrounded, Megan was confused, thinking it was a mistake. But as the officers pulled Philip from the car, his face remained blank, a chilling void where a human soul should have been. In his apartment, behind the textbooks he used to study for his medical exams, police found the gun, the tape, and the trophies of his victims. The Golden Boy was dead, the Craigslist Killer was finally in chains, the bloody anniversary and the final betrayal. The aftermath of Philip's arrest was a psychological horror story for those who knew him. Megan McAllister initially stood by him, famously declaring his innocence to the world's media. She couldn't reconcile the man who held her hand with the monster described in the news. But as the forensic evidence was laid bare, DNA, ballistics, and the digital logs, the suspense of her denial turned into the agony of betrayal. She realized that every romantic moment they shared was built on a foundation of lies and blood. She eventually visited him in jail, ended the engagement, and disappeared, her life forever scarred by his shadow. Philip, now a prisoner at the Nashua Street Jail, was a man whose world had collapsed. He was no longer the prestigious doctor, he was a pariah. The medical knowledge he once intended to use for good now became the tool for his final, dark act. He spent months in a high-security cell, his mind a dark room filled with the ghosts of his victims and the memory of the wedding that would never happen. The finale was as scripted as a tragic play. August 15, 2010, was meant to be Philip and Megan's first wedding anniversary. While the world moved on, Philip prepared his own exit. Using his anatomical knowledge, he fashioned a makeshift blade and meticulously severed the major arteries in his neck and legs. He used plastic bags to ensure he wouldn't be revived. In a final, twisted act of romance, he used his own blood to write Megan on the cell wall and laid out her photographs. Philip Markoff's suicide was the ultimate act of cowardice, leaving Julisa's family without a trial and the world without answers. He escaped justice in a court of law, but his name became synonymous with the dangers of the digital age. The case forced Craigslist to shut down its adult sections and served as a haunting reminder: the most terrifying monsters don't hide under the bed, they sit next to us in class, they plan weddings with us, and they wear the mask of a perfect life. If you found this deep dive into the Craigslist Killer case gripping, please like and subscribe for more intense true crime stories.